Ahiru no Sora is a realistic sports and slice of life anime. With 50 episodes, it started a unique basketball anime with clear inspiration from both Slam Dunk and the NBA. Potential for this show to resonate with the people who watch it will be amazing as the story progresses. We've all felt in one thing or another that we have been dealt a bad hand. Kuromatni has been dealt the worst of bad hands by being a super short basketball player who is dreaming of playing higher level basketball. Seems like a copy of Haikyuu, but it totally isn't and is actually older than Haikyuu, but of course the underdog story isn't new, so what makes it interesting for so many people? Well, let's get into the review. Hit 'em with the intro. Ahiru no Sora begins by introducing us to a boy named Kuromatni who wants to play basketball despite being very short and is determined to play on his high school basketball team no matter what. The problem is that a bunch of delinquents use the basketball club as a fake activity, so they aren't mandated to join another club by their school. Sadly, they don't actually play basketball, and in fact most of them have no idea how to play. For the pipsqueak Kuromatni to play, he has to impose his will on these aggressive giants and force them to play. So there's an anime, so I guess he succeeded and rekindled the passion some other players had for the game before they gave up for their own reasons. Notably, Momoharu and Chiaki have clear character flaws that result in them giving up the sport, but feel guilty for turning their back on the sport they love. Much like Slam Dunk, Ahiru no Sora goes through both the initial challenge by the newcomer and the team assembly phases where each player has a specific strength. It does take longer to assemble the teams in Slam Dunk and is way more detailed in the process of developing the character prior to joining the team. Feeling the passion each player has and their work before coming onto the team helps their transition into the group. The slice of life portion of this anime hits you with the gut punch of what drives Kuromatni to risk his personal safety to play a sport he will likely never be considered good enough at. She has a muscle wasting disease and is unable to be a part of Kuromatni's life, but to ensure she has proof of his ongoing success, he promises to bring her the trophy of the inter-school basketball tournament, a lofty goal that's improbable at best. With the deck stacked against him and time feeling like it may be running out, Kuromatni devotes himself to basketball to perfect his strengths, inspiring those around him in the process. Momoharu is the first to feel his passion reignite with Kuromatni's arrival, losing to him during their challenge. He's confronted with his lack of resolve that came with seeing no improvement despite working exceptionally hard to improve his shooting by seeing Kuromatni, who has almost no chance of truly overcoming his lack of height, no matter how hard he tries, endlessly practice to better himself. Sometimes, passion can feel like our meaning in life, which is what Momoharu felt in his youth playing basketball. That working hard will yield the results you desire if you just keep at it. You just have to keep at it. For Momoharu, his regret lies with feeling like he may have given up on himself too early. This results in his delinquent nature and general lack of a true calling. Many people have felt this dread of realizing that your passion, what you thought was your calling, was something that was not meant for you after all. Momoharu was so focused on basketball, he forgot his value beyond it and paid the price by losing valuable years of his life. Kuromatni pushes him to begin valuing himself by building up a respectable character for himself and to play the sport he loves regardless of how good he is. Similarly inspired, but opposite in effect to Momoharu, is Madoka. She has continued to work hard even though her basketball team wasn't competitive at high levels. Constantly, she trained to become better and lead her team. Her commitment to basketball has essentially been fruitless. She watches others on her team and her friends having basketball simply as a light activity to fill time and lead more balanced lives where they go out with their friends and experiment with the things they can do. Isolated, Madoka looks for something that shows her why she continues to play a game which feels like it won't benefit her in any way. The work Kuromatni puts in fascinates her because someone else is doing what she did. However, he has a clear goal of why he stakes his life on it. Madoka can't relate, and she struggles to find a reason as to why she can't be like her friends and if her life would have been better without basketball. That's just a brief analysis on 2 initial characters in Ahiru no Sora. Other characters like Kite and Chiaki, not to mention our protagonist Kuromatni, have extremely complex backstories and motivations that make them awesome to watch. There is still a bit of mystery around them, which I am almost sure will be developed as the story progresses. So far so good. We have a decent precedent for the story and well-developed characters. There are a few obviously relatable themes that are meant to inspire. First, we have hard work will show results if you keep at it by improving the most important thing to yourself, and that if you can't eliminate your weaknesses, you need to work around them. Good stuff, if not exceptionally original. That being said, there is such a dynamic range of characters that it would be difficult to not find someone you relate to in the show in some capacity, especially if you've played sports. One thing I was so happy to see in Ahiru no Sora was the realistic development speed of the team and the clear message it was sending. In any competitive environment, for almost everyone, there will be somebody better than you. Take, for example, school. People often are more likely to attribute high grades to someone being smart rather than acknowledging the usual fact that the person has developed habits at a young age and built a foundation for learning that not only allows them to get good grades, but retain information for the future, helping them in the next level or class they take. This of course applies to basketball as well and is fantastically emphasized in the show. You can't expect to magically become better than someone who has been working hard at something for years without essentially catching up to a similar amount of work they did. However, they continue to improve at the same time you are, albeit at a slower rate, so catching up is a challenge in itself. The common example of this is, going back to the school setting, is people trying to suddenly work hard in school and wondering why their immediate grades don't reflect their work and compare to their peers. For one, their habits likely aren't optimized, nor do they have the same foundation as compared to higher achieving peers. Does this mean that natural aptitude means nothing? No, it does, but it materializes significantly only at the higher levels when work rate is the same between individuals. Of course, it's easier to say someone is smarter, as it externalizes the problem to an extraordinary person rather than an introspective look at your own shortcomings on the things you can control. Anyway, compared to some shows where someone has hidden talent for a sport and almost immediately becomes a contender to be the best, Ahiru no Sora has been a breath of fresh air conceptually. The way the concept was imposed in games was lackluster. Games weren't entertaining, however it was refreshing just to see normal basketball without anyone having an essentially broken ability or being extremely flashy or just winning games solo. It's not clear whether this is more focused on being a sports anime or a slice of life. I feel like for a sports anime, the sport part has to be the highlight animation-wise. Yet, the animation is pretty weak compared to Kuroko no Basket and Slam Dunk. Occasionally, it feels like a full-screen slideshow, kinda like this one, I don't know. The basketball game scenes are never really impactful, and that comes down to the animation. Rarely were there any standout moments, even when they were meant to be hyped up. Definitely one of the weakest parts of the anime, but since they haven't really reached a hype level as a team, and if they did overdo it, I think it would have been gimmicky considering half the team struggles with layouts. Oh my god. Anyway, they may be able to up the animation as the players get better and can actually do cool things under real pressure. It doesn't ruin the show, but the lack of fluidity during games, even at the end where most of the action is supposed to happen, is a bit of a disappointment. Also, the characters' faces are almost the exact same without the hair. Madoka and Kuromatni's mom are strikingly similar, and that was a little weird, almost not knowing who was who. They all have these protruding lips for some reason, just a weird stylistic direction that doesn't support the animation positively. Well, 50 episodes later, and it never really felt like much of the story has elapsed. It feels like all of this was just the beginning. A lot of the detail was kept in the story, which is something most animes fly through to get to the cool moments where the team magically starts winning after a short training camp. Sometimes we see clear inspiration and almost copying from Slam Dunk, like Momoharu, his hair, being a delinquent, inability to shoot, jumping ability, and basically playing a role as a rebounder essentially makes him a Sakuragi remake from Slam Dunk. There was a standalone instance of blatant copying in the anime only, using the light trails following the eyes from Kuroko to basket when they're like in the zone. However, the author condemned it publicly, and I don't think it's in the true spirit of the story. So with all that, what makes Ahiru no Sora special? While Slam Dunk and the NBA are the inspiration for the basketball portion, this is a slice of life that doesn't make it feel like the only important thing to the players is basketball. In fact, they grapple with the role it should play in their lives. It isn't primarily focused on whether they can win a national tournament and prove their mettle. There are distinct storylines present that aren't just side stories, with each being interesting as they decide what type of person they want to be and how their passion for basketball is a part of that. Unlike most basketball animes, there isn't some ridiculous comeback or insane abilities. If this is just the start, I think it's worth to continue watching the series if it comes back for a second season. A solid show with potential. Somehow, I believe the show is simultaneously over and underrated, weirdly enough. People haven't acknowledged its strongest points, but also hype it up even though the first episodes were underwhelming animation and story progression wise. It's a solid 6 to a late 7. If you enjoy these types of shows, it's a good watch for you, and may even intrigue you into the genre if you want something that isn't a hardcore sports anime where some super oddly talented dude magically becomes good enough after a training camp to enter a team that is destined to become a national winner. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. You're a real one if you're still here. I appreciate you. I love you.
Anyway,
you know what to do, because if you're here, you're a real fan and a big brain, so thanks for that. This is Random Anime Reviewer signing off. Zoop!